My name is Renee Ali, student number ALL80097. This is my student card. This is part A of my Counselling Therapies 2 practical. I've chosen scenario A, which is Sylvia, age 32. I've decided to change Sylvia to Sam, as I could not find a female client. And this scenario will be using cognitive behavioural therapy. And Sam, I also have to ask you that you give your permission to be recorded.
No problem.
No problem?
It's fine.
Okay. Hi Sam, how are you today? My name's Renee. Okay. Sam, are you okay with me taking notes during our session today?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. Alright, and let's start off with you telling me, have you ever attended counselling before?
I've actually never, no.
No, it's your first time?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you heard much about cognitive behavioural therapy?
No.
Okay. I would like to give you a little bit of a rundown of what that's all about, okay?
Sure.
So cognitive behavioural therapy is an evidence-based therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It assists in treating patients with anxiety and depression. So this therapy is what I specialise in. So basically my job is to assist you in changing your thinking process, which will change your perceptions and lead to changes in your behaviour. Sorry,
Right.
Does that make sense so far?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
No. Okay. So cognitive behavioural therapy, Sam, actually focuses on thoughts and the way that we think.
Mm.
So our thoughts are based on our core beliefs, and our core beliefs, or our roots, I should say, are developed over time throughout our lives. What happens is these core beliefs affect our attitudes and our rules about our lives. These lead to affecting our behaviours. So does that all make sense to you so far?
Yep.
Okay, Sam, so let's start off by you telling me what brings you into counselling today.
So I've got this upcoming promotion, and with that promotion I'm going to have to be speaking to groups through presentations and pretty much presenting what my findings are and what like myself and like upper level management will be applying to the business.
Right.
Things like that.
And so you just mentioned to me that you've been recently promoted.
Yep.
From your current role, is that right? So within the same organisation that you currently work for?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do for work, Sam?
Yep, so I am a manager, so basically I handle things like just the core management, so it's pretty much broad actually. It's like marketing, operations management,
Okay.
etc. Yeah, HR.
Excellent. Alright, and how long have you been working in your current role?
Many years now. Yep, it's been a long time and I feel like I'm pretty specialised in it.
Okay.
I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Got to give you that. You know, you must be doing a good job.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
Yep.
yeah. Excellent. So, Sam, can you tell me? So you just mentioned that you'll be giving presentations, correct?
Yeah.
So, what's brought you into counselling today, like in regards to that?
So, a previous experience I've had with presenting to groups is that I've stumbled over my words and I've feared it ever since because I felt like everyone that saw me do that judged me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so I understand what you're saying there. So you've had a bad experience with giving presentations. Okay, I understand. So Sam, can you describe yourself to me? How would you describe yourself? Are you shy or are you outgoing?
Well, I feel like I'm okay with one-on-one communication, so I can go out and talk to people.
Yeah.
It's just when I have to talk to groups of people, that's when the problem arises.
Okay.
I'd say. Yep.
So, how well do you say that you communicate with others?
Pretty well.
Pretty
one-on-one
well?
like this?
Yeah.
This is fine with me.
So you feel very comfortable?
I feel comfortable with it.
Okay, excellent. So can you tell me why you've got such anxiety for your upcoming presentation?
I fear that if I mess up in this presentation, I'm going to stumble over my words and then lose respect and my social identity and job
Okay.
because of that. I would be able to provide for my kids if I lose my job, for my family, pretty much.
And just so we're clear, or correct me if I'm wrong, okay, do you feel that you're going to fail your upcoming presentation based on your previous experience that you've had?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay, I'll note that down. Okay, so can you describe your previous experience, Sam? Maybe a thought that was running through your mind at the time, how you were feeling physically. Are you able to describe that to me?
So what happened was I felt a lot of pressure while I was up there talking about what I had to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I began to sweat a lot and then started stumbling over my words, and then people would give me weird looks.
Okay, yeah.
That really made me feel miserable after it all. I felt humiliated.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, did you finish that presentation, or what ended up happening?
I had to leave early.
So you walked off early?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too much pressure for me.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Sam.
Yeah.
Must have been tough.
It was
Doesn't
bad.
sound like
Yeah.
it was easy, yeah.
Very
But
bad.
I'm going to give you some praise here, because I really do believe that you're communicating with me quite effectively.
Thank you.
You know, so that's a bonus. But you know, I noticed that Sam, you've been touching your face, you've been rubbing your neck.
Yeah.
Is that because the previous experience that you just described to me still brings on that anxiety for you?
Yeah, I can still feel it. Like sometimes it would
So it
just
feels
come back in my
raw when
mind.
you think
Yeah.
about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So today, Sam, what I'd like to do with you is focus on thoughts and the way that we think about things and how they influence the way that we feel.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the goal here is to be more flexible in the way that we think about a particular situation, and the way that we interpret things that come up for us.
Yep.
Okay? So what we find is people tend to think about situations that are troubling to them in automatic ways. Okay? So what can happen is that when you enter a situation that is challenging for you or troubling to you, your mind automatically goes to these negative thoughts, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you've thought about these thoughts a million times over. That's why it's so easy to go back to those thoughts, because that's the way you've trained your brain to think. Does that all make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so again, Sam, the goal here, or my goal here with you today, is to try to create some flexibility in the way that you think.
Right.
Right? So maybe thinking of alternative possibilities to a situation and leaving them open for different interpretations. So one way we can try to get a little bit more flexible in the way that we think is by using cognitive restructuring questions. So why they're called cognitive restructuring questions is because they are trying to reconstruct the way that we think about things in a more realistic way. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Now, is that something that you'd be open to trying with
Definitely,
me today?
yeah. Anything.
And we're going to use everything that you've just told me
Right.
with those questions, okay?
Cool.
All right. So, what I want you to do, Sam, is run through these questions with me. And we're going to be using your thought of, you know, I'm going to stumble over my words, I believe it was.
Yep, stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and lose my job.
unprofessional.
Yeah.
And lose my job. Yeah. I'm just writing that down, Sam, because that's going to be your key thought for today's session, okay? All right, so, okay. Maybe there's something there. All right, so what we're doing with these questions, Sam, before we go ahead, I just want to let you know,
Sure.
we're looking at how this situation, your previous situation, and how it's contributing to the anxiety that you're feeling today with your upcoming situation. Okay, so in your case, it's previous presentation, upcoming presentation, right?
Yep.
All right, excellent. Okay. Excellent, so we're moving on to that. All right, so let's start off with your first question there, Sam. Can you read that to me out loud using your negative automatic thought?
Okay, so do I know for certain that I'm going to stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and lose my job?
What do you believe the answer to that would be?
I don't really know for certain,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can't really say that it's definitely going to happen.
Okay, so you don't know for certain,
No.
right?
No.
Great. Let's keep going.
I am 100% sure that these awful consequences will occur. Again, I'm not too sure. I'm almost certain, but I can't be certain.
Right, so you're not 100% accurate
Yeah.
that this will be the outcome
Yeah.
of your upcoming presentation. All right. So we can see with these questions, Sam, they're getting to how likely or what are the chances are that your thought will actually occur.
Right.
And what we find is that people who suffer from anxiety tend to overinflate the likelihood of a negative automatic thought, or the likelihood that something bad is going to happen. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So you saying, you know, I'm going to stumble over my words, I'm going to look unprofessional, and I'm going to lose my job, right?
Mm.
You're over-emphasizing the likelihood of that occurring and over-exaggerating the risk involved.
Mm.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah? So basically, you know, if I give my presentation, I'm going to stumble over my words, look unprofessional, lose my job. So these first two questions, they really allow for some wiggle room in the way that we think about your upcoming situation.
Right.
Okay? Let's move on to the next question there, Sam. If you can read that out loud using your negative automatic thought.
Yep. So how much does it feel like I'm gonna stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and then lose my job, versus the true likelihood that it will?
Yeah.
It feels really strong,
Mm-hmm.
the chances, but I guess the likelihood isn't as powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So this stems back to what I was explaining earlier, Sam. So our core beliefs or our negative automatic thoughts have a huge influence on the way that we feel and the way that we behave, right? So it can cause our hearts to race. We begin to feel hot, and then the anxiety comes on. Do you see how that happens?
Yeah.
Right? And what this does, it tends to make the negative automatic thought seem more truer, or we give it more value. Okay? So basically what you know, I really like this question because of the second part of it, Sam. You know, it's what is the likelihood that I will actually stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and lose my job? It really challenges your negative automatic thought by withdrawing the emotions out of it. Does that all make sense so far to you?
So far, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to do, Sam, is just, let's say, for example, you've given 50 presentations over your whole entire life, your lifetime, right? Now, out of those 50 presentations, how many times out of those 50 has there been hard-based evidence to support your negative automatic thought of, I'm going to forget my words, look unprofessional, lose my job?
Not many.
Not many?
Just the one that I mentioned,
Just
I'd say.
the one?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Right, so just the one. So I want to highlight to you, Sam, that it's one isolated incident. It happened one time out of 50 times. So that means 99% of the time there's been no hard-based evidence to support your negative automatic thought. Do you see that?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah? So let's move on to the next question that you got there, Sam.
Yep. So are there any other explanations or possibilities as to why I would stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and then lose my job? I guess a lack of preparation.
Yeah, lack of preparation. Let's note that down.
And I guess that thought you mentioned earlier, where negative behaviors or negative perceptions and things like that affect how I view it before I get in there.
Excellent.
So mental game. I
So
guess.
another possibility is that, you know, lack of preparation for your presentation,
Yeah.
and you know, for your newly promoted position.
Yeah.
True. So that can be a heavy thought to carry around with you every day in your new position, Sam. So let me just point out to you that you were not promoted for no reason. You know, you've received your promotion because you're doing a fantastic job, and you should be extremely proud of that. So you have to give yourself some credit. You know, it can't always be doom and gloom. You've got to look at your positives as well.
It's true.
Okay, you obviously have the attributes that they want and that they're looking for. Okay. So what this leads us to see is that you won't look unprofessional. However, there are these other contributing factors as to why you believe your negative automatic thought. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And again, the goal here is to be more flexible in the way that we think and use these questions as a guide to really poke some holes in our negative automatic thoughts. Okay? So how does it feel to be running through this, Sam? Does it seem believable to you?
Yeah, I'm starting to see like more light in the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's hope.
All right, so let's move on to our last question for today. Can you read that out to me using your negative automatic thought,
Okay.
please?
Yeah. So, what is the worst that could happen if I do stumble over my words, look unprofessional, and lose my job?
Yeah.
Well,
So, what would be the absolute worst thing?
I would just have to find another job, I guess.
Yeah, find
And then-
another job.
Honestly, I don't think it would even be that bad because I'm already skilled, as I mentioned earlier. You even brought it up as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it shouldn't be too hard for me to come back from that kind of situation, I
That's
suppose.
right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So this question really brings us to another way of testing error in logic. Okay.
Yeah.
So this question is really catastrophizing your negative automatic thought.
Mm.
Basically, we're blowing it out of proportion and telling yourself that this will be the end of the world if this were to occur. And which is like it's just not realistic. Do you see how that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, for example, worst case scenario did happen.
Yeah.
Right? How would you feel?
Guess I'd feel humiliated
Humiliated?
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
A bit lost.
So let's use that, Sam, okay? We're going to put down humiliated.
Yep.
Have you ever felt humiliated before?
With that presentation, yep.
Yeah?
Definitely my previous one.
And you felt embarrassed before? Embarrassment, humiliation,
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing, right?
Mm.
Okay.
For sure.
Does the feeling of humiliation last? How long would you say it lasts for?
Well, if we're going back to that situation, it only lasted maybe a couple of hours.
A couple
Yeah.
of hours? Okay, so it subsides after a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Right? So the absolute worst thing that could happen about, your negative automatic thought,
Yeah.
it deflates within a few hours. The intensity is not so strong.
True.
True?
Yeah.
Okay. Again, and this is where we learn to build some flexibility in the way that we think. So we sit back and we think, is it really that big of a deal if the worst case scenario were to occur? I'll look back at this one day, I'll cringe a little bit. I'll feel a little flushed in my cheeks, I'll feel a little sick in the tummy,
Yeah.
but it's not so bad.
That's true.
True?
That is true.
Can you tell me, Sam, how you feel now that we've ran through these questions, looking at your negative automatic thought in a different way?
I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I said before, there's hope now. Like,
Yeah?
I can work on this
Yeah.
probably and do well in my presentation.
Okay. So that's great. Look, these are questions that you can run through on a daily basis, Sam, just so that you can, retrain yourself to think in a more realistic way, right? So I'd like you to work on that from now until the next time we meet. And I really, I believe we'll be able to work towards your goal in the next 6 weeks of overcoming your social phobia and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So the key here is to look at situations in a more realistic way. And I believe that we've begun this process here today together.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to thank you for coming in and sharing with me today, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
I'll walk you out to the front and we'll book your next appointment. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.